Any? Am I supposed to see myself up here?
I'm not going to make it.
Brief indulgence, guys. We are having some technical difficulties. It's a challenging system. Kayla does a wonderful job, but sometimes she can't beat this. That rough technology. We need to call somebody? We need to call somebody? Are we recording? Can people see me? Oh, the other ones are? Oh, well, how am I going to fall in love again? I can't see myself. That's fine. All right. Well, we're going to start again, colleagues. Make sure we have a quorum. The first bill is House Bill 36. Eric DeCampos. Sir? No. And what is your name, sir?
Joe Smith.
Oh, there we go. Am I good enough for me? If that's your real name. Did you have anybody up with you, sir?
Not at this moment.
Outstanding.
Sir.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Smith, Acting Associate Commissioner with the Maryland Insurance Administration Fraud and Enforcement Division. The Maryland Insurance Administration appreciates the opportunity to share its support for House Bill 36, a departmental bill, which seeks to protect Maryland consumers from predatory business practices that often occur after severe weather or other catastrophic events to give rise to an insurance claim. During and in the immediate aftermath of a disaster, consumers are vulnerable and not in a position to fully assess their need to pay a third party to assist with the claim. The bill, with amendments, places limitations on solicitation by public adjusters, including the prohibition from soliciting during the loss, no solicitation between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., allows for additional time to cancel a contract for consumers 65 years old or older. The amendment addresses and replaces a proposed ban on solicitation during 24 hours following the loss, which has been challenged as unconstitutional. While the MIA does not concede to the merits of this position, we have in an interest of advancing this important consumer protection. It is not unusual for a public adjuster to arrive and solicit business from homeowners during a loss, such as a fire. Last year, during a fire, consumers reported that while the fire department was extinguishing the fire, a public adjuster was on the scene soliciting business. Many of those consumers believed that this was an adjuster from their very own insurance company. This is only one example of complaints received from consumers, fire departments, local government, and legislators. It demonstrates a need for additional protection. The bill will afford immunity to persons who report violations committed by public adjusters and those acting as public adjusters without a license. The bill broadens an existing protection against insurance fraud. Maryland has long prohibited contractors from inflating the cost of storm repairs to cover a deductible. Expanding this prohibition to include home repairs for damages covered by insurance, that the market is better protected. Inflating costs results in higher insurance premiums for all Marylanders. The MIA is confident that Maryland consumers are best served by the protections included in this bill. For these reasons, the MIA urges favorable committee report on House Bill 36 and thanks the committee for an opportunity to share its support.
Seeing no questions. Seeing no questions. Thank you for the presentation, sir. Call up our first panel of witnesses. We have Matt Overturf, Nancy Egan, Bryson Popham, and Eric DeCampos. That's it. Yep. I'm not going to be able to see him. Jeffrey Gold, come on up too, sir. Yes. Well,
I got it.
there we go. Don't worry.
Right. Your time started. Go.
No. All right.
Good afternoon, Chair Wilson and other members of the House Economic Matters Committee. My name is Nancy Egan. I represent the American Property Casualty Insurance Association, whose members write approximately 61.8% of the Maryland property casualty insurance market. We appreciate the MIA for submitting this bill. Back in 2017, the Insurance Administration adopted the NAIC Public Adjuster Licensing Model Act. and adopted most of the language from that model act. They did not include a cooling off period. This bill does include some sort of cooling off period. We understand from the prior testimony that the MIA will be amending that language to be more specific. So we welcome the MIA providing us with that language. In addition, we like the idea that senior citizens 65 and older would have a longer time to review the public adjuster contract from 3 years to 7 years. And with that, we urge the committee to provide a favorable report. Thank you.
Chair Wilson, members of the committee, my name is Matt Overturf on behalf of the National Association of Mutual Insurance Companies. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of House Bill 36. NAMIC consists of nearly 1,500 companies, member companies, including 7 of the top 10 property casualty insurers in the United States. House Bill 36 strengthens existing Maryland law and provides even greater consumer protections. By increasing the number of days an insured age 65 and older can rescind or cancel a contract with a public adjuster and prohibits public adjusters from soliciting business within a certain period of time. For these reasons, NAMIC supports this important consumer protection legislation and recommends its favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Bryson Popham appearing before you for the first time this year in support of House Bill 36. I am speaking on behalf of the Insurance Agents and Brokers of Maryland, a trade association of several hundred independent insurance agents located in and doing business throughout the state. I should point out to the committee also that you have written testimony in support from another of our clients, the Maryland Association of Mutual Insurance Companies. This is something that has been needed for some time. We applaud the commissioner for taking the initiative to put this bill in. It is not about the ordinary business of public adjusting. It is about fraud and fraud prevention and consumer protection, which is an important role for our insurance regulator. You heard the associate commissioner describe a situation where a public adjuster was soliciting business while the fire was still burning in someone's house. That's reprehensible, of course. Our clients have come up with a term known as storm chasing, and that consists of people, they could be public adjusters, likely not, follow storms around, not named storms, just storms. And they go to people's houses and tell them that their siding or roofs have been damaged and that they can represent them. So those are the types of things that this bill, I think, would, if not completely prevent, would certainly help when someone has suffered a loss and they are at a loss for what to do about it. This gives a cooling off period, and it's a necessary consumer protection in our view. For those reasons, we would respectfully suggest a favorable report on House Bill 36.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Gould. I am a Baltimore-based public adjuster. I've been a public adjuster in Maryland since 1993. I'm a past president of the National Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. I'm their current legislative chair for the National Association, have been through since 2016, working on similar legislation around the country. Testifying here today for myself and for the National Association, we are not against House Bill 36, but I think it's important that we bring up some potential unintended consequences of this bill. In Maryland and most other states, it is illegal for a contractor to report an insurance claim on behalf of an insured, negotiate with an insurance company, advise on insurance coverage, and prepare a claim on behalf of the insured. However, most insureds don't know this. So when there is a fire or a storm, there are definitely public adjusters that show up during and after, but the majority of people there are contractors, mitigation companies, and other businesses looking to obtain business from the insured. The public adjusters get painted with this broad brush that we're all public adjusters, and it's not. I can tell thousands of stories if we had the time of contractors that attempted to handle claims on behalf of homeowners or business owners and tell you the horror stories of how they failed miserably. When you're at a fire or after a storm, I have witnessed numerous times these contractors, they tell the homeowners, We can do everything a public adjuster can do, but we don't charge you a fee. So these contractors, unlicensed by the Maryland Insurance Administration and unregulated by the Maryland Insurance Administration, are telling these homeowners that don't know any better that they can do it. Oh, and it'll be free. What I believe is going to happen here is with this prohibition of solicitation from 8 to 8, is contractors are still going to be there from 8 to 8 because this bill only prohibits public adjusters. So the public adjusters that are regulated and licensed by the MIA, we're going to show up at 8 o'clock in the morning, but everyone unlicensed and unregulated, they get up to a 12-hour head start on those that should properly be handling the claims. Another problem is in Maryland, you can be a public adjuster and a contractor, and you can do it on the same claim. How is it going to be enforced if somebody is at a fire scene and they are both? The National Association of Public Adjusters forbids, it's in our bylaws, we forbid our members from being a public adjuster and a contractor. You have to be either or. But this bill does not address that. Thirdly, in the public adjuster law, it specifically says that handing out marketing materials is not solicitation. So public adjusters can still be on scene between 8 and 8, handing out solicitation. They just can't talk about the services that we perform. I don't know how that's going to be enforced. I have several recommendations.
And sir, we have a 2-minute timer. I know it wasn't running, kind of give you a little bit more than I could. Obviously, if you have any recommendations, we'd love to see them. You can submit them to us. I'm sure you already have in writing. I know we got to keep going. Try to give you a little more time to run over, but if you just wrap it up so we can move on to the next, I appreciate you.
All right, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of the time limit. Do you want to hear the? Do you want to hear the recommendations or just submit them in writing? Thank you, I will do so.
I think Eric DeCampos is online. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I start? Thank you. Appreciate the time. My name is Brian Goodman. I'm an attorney practicing in Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm also the general counsel to the National Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. I want to thank the Maryland Insurance Administration for the intent behind this bill. We do support this bill with amendments, some of which have been discussed already. One of the amendments that has not been discussed, Joe did talk about a little bit, is the granting of immunity in this case for people who report the violations of this bill. Public adjusters, the members of my client, National Association of Public Insurance Adjusters, have a strict code of ethics, and we are as much against predatory practices as anyone. Unfortunately, when there's a bad public adjuster or contractor around, we get painted with the brush that we are of them. So one of the things that's important in this bill is immunity, that when people see the law violated by improper solicitation, that they're given immunity from being sued. We have agreed upon that with the MIA, and they're waiting for us to supply them with language to amend this bill, which we will do. I also want to note at the outset that we were very instrumental in, we being NAPIA, in the drafting and passage of the National Association of Insurance Commissioners Model Act, which is now being reopened to reflect some of these changes and some of these problems that we're seeing and things that have to be done. We expect that to happen this fall. I was here back in 5 or 6 years ago when Maryland went with the majority of states and also adopted the NAIC Model Act, and we applaud that. And finally, I just want to say that NAPIA is a proud member of the Coalition Against Insurance Fraud. We, the members of the National Association of Public Insurance Adjusters, want to fight insurance fraud as much as anyone, and we applaud the MIA's efforts with this bill. We urge the committee to report it favorably out of committee, and it just hit 0, so I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. See no questions. We go on to our virtual witness, Eric DeCampos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Eric DeCampos and I represent the National Insurance Crime Bureau. NICB is a nonprofit organization. Oh, 1 second. Oh, sorry about that. NICB is a nonprofit organization that works hand in hand with our member insurance companies and Maryland state and local law enforcement to detect, prevent, and deter insurance crimes. Unscrupulous contractors often use the aftermath of a major storm or catastrophe to prey upon already vulnerable consumers. Contractor fraud continues to be a widespread problem across the country, including in Maryland. Unscrupulous public adjusters often add to that harm. Public adjusters are sometimes hired by policyholders to assist the policyholder in resolving their claims. And most public adjusters assess and evaluate damage in a professional manner and are often helpful to advance policyholders' interests. However, those dishonest public adjusters may artificially inflate claims estimates in order to line their own pockets. More obvious scams involve charging unnecessary, exorbitant, or fraudulent fees, stealing policyholders' personal information, or fraudulently working with partner contractors in schemes to inflate claims in exchange for kickbacks. This is why NICB strongly supports House Bill 36 and its critical consumer protections. And we thank the MIA for bringing this forward. And this includes certain provisions such as prohibitions around soliciting insureds, allowing insureds 65 years and older up to 7 days to rescind a public adjuster contract. And furthermore, this bill will clarify that it is a fraudulent act for a contractor to pay or offer to pay an insured's deductible, regardless of whether the loss was weather-related. These measures will help protect Marylanders from being exploited by unscrupulous public adjusters and contractors, in addition to stemming fraudulent activities. Accordingly, we respectfully request your favorable vote for HB 36. We thank you again for the opportunity to testify today and for considering our views as you deliberate the merits of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Seeing no questions, that concludes this bill hearing. We'll move on to the next bill, House Bill 67. Mr. Smith, Mr. Gould. And Mr. Jeffrey Gould, if you're available.
Good afternoon again. The Maryland Insurance Administration appreciates the opportunity to share its support for House Bill 67, which is a departmental bill. House Bill 67 proposes to increase the maximum civil penalty that can be assessed against an insurance producer, a public adjuster, for violations of the insurance article. Unlicensed persons engaging in the business of insurance in violation of the state's licensing requirements. In both instances, the minimum penalty will remain the same. In the current statute, insurance producers and public adjusters who violate the obligations or standards imposed by the insurance article are subject to a minimum penalty of $100 and a maximum penalty of $500 per violation. House Bill 67 proposes to increase the maximum penalty, which has not been changed since 1963, from $500 to $5,000. This penalty is consistent with the maximum penalties for violations by licensees regionally adjacent to Maryland. With exceptions, persons engaged in the business of insurance in the state are required to be licensed. A person who violates the licensing laws is subject to a penalty ranging from $100 to $50,000 per violation. The bill proposes to increase the maximum penalty, which has not been changed since 1987, from $50,000 to $125,000. The current cap is out of sync with the cap on the maximum penalty that can be imposed on a licensee, which is $125,000. The current maximum penalty no longer serves as an adequate deterrent. To ensure deterrence of unlicensed and often fraudulent actors, the Maryland Insurance Administration proposed to increase the maximum penalty to $125,000. In both instances, the bill only proposes to increase the maximum penalty. There are times when it is appropriate to impose a de minimis penalty, and that option is preserved. For these reasons, the MIA urges favorable report from committee on House Bill 67 and thanks committee for the opportunity to share its support. Thank you.
Hi, Jeff Gould again here for myself and the National Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify. I just want to let you know that we are in favor of this bill and we urge passage. Thank you.
Since you've had this in the last 5 years, where somebody was paid this?
Where some
where we had to incur a fine?
I can tell you the last 3 years for
Please, Mike.
insurance producers that we have levied fines against, not unlicensed activity, but insurance producers where we're looking to take it from 500 to 5,000. It's been 78 over $630,000 in penalties have been issued.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks.
No further questions. I think that concludes this bill hearing, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move to House Bill 90. We have Jamie Sexton and Shola. Oops. Yeah, that's written. Just, Ms. Sexton, you're up here by yourself. No need to be nervous.
Should I be nervous?
You see the rabble we're dealing with. We're all
I'm
kind of rough.
I'm not foolish. I know what I'm walking into.
Jamie, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members of the committee, for the record, my name is Jamie Sexton. I'm the Director of Legislative and Regulatory Policy for the Maryland Insurance Administration. I'm here to share our support for House Bill 90, which is a departmental bill. This is probably the most straightforward bill on the agenda for today. It simply proposes an amendment to the insurance article to permit small businesses, which are those with 50 employees or less, to designate an employee to represent them in administrative hearings before the MIA or hearings at the Office of Administrative Hearings on behalf of the MIA. The language used in this bill is similar to language used in enacted legislation that allows representatives of small businesses to appear without counsel to represent business in Maryland's small claims court. This places small businesses on equal footing with insurers, which are not required to be represented by attorneys in evidentiary hearings before the administration. For many small businesses, as you can imagine, the cost of hiring counsel can be a significant barrier to exercising their right to pursue an evidentiary hearing. And the MIA has seen small business owners abandon their hearing requests and a reason for which either the MIA or the OAH have been forced to dismiss this case on motion of the insurer because of that economic barrier. We very much view this as a really good measure for the little guy, if you will. And we think it's an important level set for small businesses in Maryland. And we urge a favorable committee report.
Well, it seems like a very edgy bill, so.
I get the sexy ones here.
I see. Well, seeing no questions, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank
We're gonna
you.
move on to the next bill, which is House Bill 229. Nope. That's right, 252.
Thought that was exciting. Where do you see this one? So, hi, Kathleen Brain again, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As I've told you from time to time, I'm going to come in front of you and ask you to adopt a bill that is a quote unquote accreditation standard, meaning that the National Association of Insurance Commissioners has adopted a standard which all of the states are requested to adopt in order to allow their financial oversight of their domestic insurance companies to be accepted. So the way insurance regulation works effectively in the United States is that all the commissioners operate under a common set of standards and rules when it comes to holding companies accountable to solvency and their financial standards. So this is one of those. What this does is this bill will implement changes that were made and adopted in December of 2023 to the NAIC's Insurance Holding Company System Regulatory Act and the related model regulation. What essentially the change means is it is intended to give insurance regulators better optics into the larger financial condition of all of the entities within a holding company system. So not every entity in a holding company system is a licensed insurer. You have a bunch of, you might have people that are doing things like third-party administration. You might have an employer group. So there are lots of different entities that do things that are interrelated, investment advisors, et cetera. And what's important is that when we look at those enterprises, we look at them as a whole from a macroprudential standpoint so that we understand whether or not money is getting sucked out of the insurance company to support those other enterprises. So this bill adopts a group capital calculation standard that would apply to assure that we have better financial optics into these related companies within the organization. And then in addition to that, it adopts a specific requirement for large life insurers by requiring them to perform and submit to the administration liquidity stress standards. Large insurance companies, large life insurance companies, they collect premium over dozens and dozens of years for an event that's going to happen in the future. And they're investing that in long-term investments. So they build up enormous reserves. And we want to make sure that when they begin to shift assets, they sell one class or whatever, how is that going to impact the entire system? So the both our European counterparts and our national counterparts have developed a set of tests to assess the impact of some of those asset changes. And the goal is to now adopt those standards in Maryland by adopting the Model Act. And I'm happy to take any questions. We would urge a favorable vote on this bill.
Seeing no questions, that may have been the sexiest bill of the day. Sorry, Jordan. That's very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. We now have our last bill, which is House Bill 229. Which is Nancy Egan and Bryson Popham. Am I correct? Hold on. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
Right, I just want to see your name on that. So, and ma'am, go ahead first. I apologize.
No problem at all. Good afternoon, Chair Wilson and committee members. Thank you for your time. For the record, my name is Chrissy Nizer, Motor Vehicle Administrator. Pleasure to be here on House Bill 229, which is our departmental bill, and really is an attempt to step forward in providing better accuracy for matching insurance data. It requires insurance companies to provide a book of business on a routine schedule to MBA, as well as mandatory participation in MBA's online verification system. The goal is to provide efficiency for vehicle owners, our law enforcement partners, and the MBA by tackling common burdens associated with that insurance verification process. By having an updated book of business on file, the MBA seeks to accurately verify that insurance data in a timely manner and match insurance policies to customers' vehicles. House Bill 229 would also mandate that participation in the online verification system, which is already used by 70% of our insurance companies. So to get those remaining companies would participate would be a great benefit, not only for the insurers, but for our customers, because it provides real-time verification of insurance. It also means in the future that law enforcement would be able to access that insurance information real-time at roadside, which has been something that they have wanted to do in the past. Real-time updates to the online verification system will reduce the amount of what we call false insurance lab cases from outdated or inaccurate information, which I'm sure you've gotten some of those constituent inquiries, creates a burden on the customer to then have to go to their insurance agent to prove that they have insurance and provide that data to MBA. It is a fairly significant issue as we look at the data for fiscal year 22. About 46% of the cases that were created were then subsequently closed by the customer providing insurance. And that's why we're here, really. We're just trying to provide a better way to be able to ensure people have insurance, which is everybody's goal, but also to do so accurately. I will say, as I conclude, that I understand that some of the companies here represented will mention that they might need some additional time to be able to implement the bill. And we certainly stand ready to work with the committee and the industry. Our goal is to implement a process that is convenient for our customers, that enables us to ensure that all of our drivers are insured appropriately and we're able to take action effectively. So with that, I thank you for your time and I ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Bryson Popham appearing in favorable with amendments on this bill on behalf of our client, the Maryland Association of Mutual Insurance Companies. A little perspective may be helpful to you. In 1985, I was a member of a task force created in this committee on the subject of uninsured motorists. We have been struggling since then, think how long that's been, to come up with an effective way to make sure that people comply with Maryland's compulsory insurance law. And I haven't checked it in the last couple of years, but I know consistently our uninsured motorist rate has been in the 10 to perhaps 14% range. This, I think, is finally the solution. I commend the MBA for coming forward with this legislation. My clients are the ones to which Ms. Nizer refers. They are in the 30% that are not participating in the system right now because they're small and they have limited IT resources. And again, the MBA has recognized that. They've offered to work with us. Ms. Nizer did it again here. I hope we can come up with some language to offer committee counsel that you will find acceptable to make sure that we all comply with the law. And with that, Mr. Chairman, we would respectfully request a favorable amendment, a favorable report with the amendment we suggest.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Nancy Egan with American Property Casualty Insurance Association. Our members write approximately 55.2% of the personal auto in Maryland, as well as 75.7% of all commercial risks for auto. Once again, I want to thank the MVA. We had been in discussions about moving towards a book transfer and requiring online verification systems for everyone during 2023. So it was nice to see the bill. We've already had a conference call with some of the members of the MVA team, and participating in that meeting were people that sit on the IIC MVA, which is the Insurance Industries Committee on Motor Vehicle Administrations, who work with the MVAs around the country for implementation of these real-time systems. They have already reached out to the MVA about scheduling meetings to how to set up the system itself in advance so that it flows easily, and the MVA is already committed to that. In addition, as already mentioned, we feel that the implementation date will need to be pushed back. We had asked for January 1, but we understand that it might need a little bit longer time period. One other thing that was committed to in the meeting was trying to find a workaround for large commercial risks that are on audited basis, which I won't explain here, but it's a little bit different for how they need to verify their vehicles. In my testimony, there is an amendment to put into the uncodified language about working with the IIC MVA while they develop the system, as well as providing the accommodation for these large commercial risks. And with that, with those changes, we urge a favorable report. And thanks again to the MVA for working with us.
Seeing no questions on this bill, that will conclude this hearing. I do know Wes, I need that little thing. I can't see these lights. Delegate Weibel, you have a question?
You're actually correct. I don't have a question, but Ms. Nizer, I just wanted to say thank you. Your department, MVA, is not always associated with good customer service, but honestly, every time either my staff or myself have had to reach out to you, you've always provided a timely response and answered the questions and responded to the constituents. So I just want to publicly thank you for that and say that you're a role model for all the departments in the state. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a great team.
Wow. Well, that was great. Thank you. Colleagues, before we step out, we do have a gentleman. I apologize. I must have skipped over his name on House Bill 252. Matt Celentano. Could you, I know you're chopping at the bit, bud. And I know you'll be equally brief. So
I just wanted to thank the commissioner and our staff for adopting the sponsor amendments with us, and me too. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So that concludes our hearings for today. Colleagues, I just asked that we have an event tonight. I hope to see some folks there. And thank you guys very much. What's the lady's name? 6. Miss Isaac.